Here we have the Coachella mobile app. I really want to focus on this section here, which is the lineup section. So looking at the graphical user interface to begin with, the menu almost seems to be a little bit cluttered to begin with. We have all these icons here, but for some reason we've got this page that seems to interrupt the actual screen itself. But there is a function to it, because if you see here, it brings you out to the schedule, and you can browse quite seamlessly going through each section here. So if I click on map, it will bring me over to the map section, but it will give me a full screen version of it. So focusing on the lineup section here, we can see it actually gives us a good empty state graphic infographic, and it's sort of this is something that could potentially be used in my idea, so that it allows users to get an understanding as to what they can do when planning to view artists. Going back to the menu, we can see that there's a fair bit of redundant information. Like we see here, there's a visual graphic, which is nice for the actual dedicated festival itself, but it doesn't seem to be very necessary, and it takes up a lot of room on the GUI. But focusing again on the lineup itself, if I want to go ahead and pick an artist, what they've done is that they've actually separated it out into 3 categories. So in this section, it's your personal schedule for what acts you want to actually prioritize and view. But if we actually move to the navigation section where there's the full lineup, they've organized it from A to Z alphabetically, and you can scroll through and see all of the artists. So on the next tab, you have the schedule organised out into specific days, which you can actually scroll along, which I think is quite nice. So they've not hidden all of that information on dates. They've actually displayed it there and then, and you can slide across to access each different day, and it will take you down to that desired section in the list. Another interesting thing they've done is that they've actually given the user the ability to look at the list in 2 different views. So we can go to here and we can actually look at the timeline view of all the acts, which is pretty interesting, because it's just another way of looking at a large volume of information in a different way. So what I'm actually really interested in is the process of actually selecting artists that you want to see live. So if I were to go to the lineup section and select an artist, let's just go with any artist here. When you select an artist, you're actually given some basic information on the stage where they are, which is this section here, and that will take you to the actual stage itself, and you can see it on the map. Now here's a huge problem that they've done here. They've actually given the interactive map too many icons, and it almost seems like it's a bit too cluttered. So actually interacting with it is a bit of a nightmare, but see, when I zoom out, I want to see exactly where I am, and there are sort of too many icons to see, but it still works okay. And of course you can navigate back to the artist that you were looking at in the first place. So if I were to actually queue up this artist as an act that I want to actually prioritize and see, you can first of all actually add it to your schedule. What they've done here is they've given a nice call to action button, and that's pretty intuitive to the user. So if I were to select that, it would then tell me it's added to my schedule. And then I can also, if I wish, I can actually set an alert to remind me of when the act's going to be coming on. I can give like a warning to myself to say, okay, the act's going to be on in 20 minutes, or is it going to be on in 30 minutes? But of course, since this festival's already happened, it's going to tell me that this act has already played. So if I go back and if I actually select a bunch of artists, it can be any old artist really, doesn't matter. If I select a load, just going through on each one. So now that I've selected a bunch of artists, what I can do is then go to my personal schedule, and I should see that it's already updated with what I've selected. And what they've done is they've actually given you your selections in a very organised manner. So they've actually sectioned it out in date and time, and they've also given you information on the stage as well. So it's obvious that each act has got an ID of the date and the time and the actual location where they're playing, depending on what day it is. So that's all there. And I can actually choose, if I don't want to see someone, I can actually just choose to delete or unschedule the act. Another good thing here is that I can also, if I've selected a lot of artists, I can actually choose to view my schedule in a different manner. So again, there's that timeline view, and going through the different days, you'll see the acts that you had selected, and there's another empty state there as well. I do like these empty states. They're visually they're very informative. So they don't just give you like text information. They show you what you should interact with. So going back to the main menu, it's also interesting to note that Coachella wanted to include an eat and drink section along with a fun and essentials section. Now, overall, I'm sort of wanting to consider what do all music festivals want to include, and it's quite evident that they want to show their users, their participants, information on not just the acts. They want to show them eat and drink stands, and the format and graphical user interface is very similar to actually queuing up artists. So if you select one of these, you can get information on the bar, for example. You can go back and you can look through the fun and essentials. These touch on many things. They're selected into 3 categories. So you've got attractions, retail, and essentials like parking, ATMs, restrooms, etc. All quite important features that music festivals provide to their customers. Overall, some bad points just to add, considering the lineup and the way they actually select artists. If you go to a music festival and you go and visit an artist who you are not too sure about, you don't really understand who they are, or if you're a new artist and you want to give yourself as much exposure as possible, let's just say I don't understand who this artist is here, and I want to find out about them. They do provide an about section. However, you actually have to go off the application itself to find out more about them, which I think is a bit of a flaw, because you're coming off the user experience of the application. It'd probably be better to add text information, just basic text information about the artist there and then, so the user can get a very basic understanding as to who they are. So overall, with this application, I feel the main strengths of this application is that it's very feature rich. So there are many things that you can find out about the festival. Um, Potentially, I could use in my idea not just the lineup section, but I can also add in fun and essentials, like I just showed you, and the eat and drink section. So vendors that are actually at the festival. I can then also add in empty states into my applications. So, for example, if I hadn't queued anything up in my schedule, just go ahead and delete all of these. Yeah, sometimes it's a bit. So these sort of empty states that we see here, they can be quite useful just to show users basic information of what actions to take. But I'm also very interested in how they've actually sectioned out this area in 3 sections. So you have your personal lineup, your personal lanyard, and then you have the full lanyard here, and the schedule, so the timings and exactly where everything is, and they've sectioned out the stages in quite an ordered manner. So this is something to consider for thinking about how I could structure the way in which people select artists and acts to view. I quite like the navigation and the way in which you go from the menu, and it's quite narrative, so it's very self-explanatory. So if you don't have anything here, you're going to have to go to here and pick what artists you want to see, and then you can go back to your schedule and find out what it was that you selected. So it's quite intuitive. It's a very intuitive design. I think it's also the way in which the scheduling is done, the personal scheduling is done. It's in chronological order, which I think is quite important for people, obviously prioritising who they want to see, and that's why they give you the days in a structured manner. I think some things that this app can obviously improve on, from my personal point of view, is the general UI and the way in which everything is quite clustered here to begin with. They could have obviously got rid of the redundant information, like these visual graphics, for example. I think with the acts as well, they could have included some basic text information instead of just linking up the social networking side of the artist and their website, which is great, but you actually have to leave the user experience of the app itself before you find out any information about the artist. And just one more thing, it was just the map as well. I found that it was just a bit of a hassle to get to grips with. I feel that maybe a better approach to doing this is to just get rid of the interactivity and show a basic image map that can obviously load quite fast and the user can get to grips with quite quickly. Because usually in lanyards they actually give you an image-based map, which is quite easy to understand. But obviously in this music festival, they've decided to show the user a very detailed version and interactive version, which is going to be hard to incorporate into all music festivals for my application. And yeah, those are the main features I really want to focus on for this app. Other than that, the app shows some other functions like taking photos at the event. So they actually have a camera application. They have a social feed, so people talking about the festival. It all comes up on this section, which I don't think is very necessary for the app I wanted to create. But yeah, initially this app is really focused just for the festival itself, whereas what I'm trying to do is focus more on the act and the artist exposure and getting more information to people who want to prioritise their festival around the acts themselves. So this is the Coachella website that goes with the mobile application. Basically, I wanted to have a look at the website, this website specifically, because it features some of the functionality that the mobile application has as well, which I thought was actually quite interesting to touch on. So first of all, I feel that this website works quite well as a responsive website. So if I just take you to the lineup section here, if we go to this, we can see that we have all the acts here that are performing, and if you are to actually go onto one of the artists, you can choose to add or remove your desired artist to your playlist for the festival. So this will be your lineup, your personal lineup. However, finding where this list is on the website proved to be quite tricky. Now, what you actually have to do is go and sign up first and create a profile. And once you've created a profile, you go up here and scrolling down, you actually have to go to this section here. It seemed a bit vague at first and took a long time to find. You have to go to a section called Your Lineup, where you have all the acts that you've chosen to see. The downside to this, it did seem like quite a difficult thing to find on the website. But obviously, if this is going to be a thing that I was to bear in mind for my design, this would be a feature that would stand out a lot more. But you can see the functionality of it actually working on this website. And you can, again, remove artists from your playlist. And you can also switch between weekends as well. So if I just go ahead and remove all of these. So as a responsive website, I felt the functionality worked quite well. You can choose to filter using this bar up here. If I'm to resize it, I'll show you that now. You can see that the whole window snaps at certain points pretty well. And scrolling down, you can see all the ordered artists here, and if I am to select one, it will hide and show information on the artist, but again, there's no specific textual information about the artist, which is a bit of a downside. But since you're actually online, you can go to these websites and find out more for yourself about the artist, which is alright, but of course there are some issues with that. And it does hook up their social networking assets. If you go to the top of this filter here, what you can do is you can actually organize all your artists into just a list format, which I think is quite good, because if there are quite a lot of acts performing, it sizes down all of the information the user has to scroll through. Just like the mobile application, what you can do is you can actually sort the list by day, and you can see here we have a title that now appears and all the corresponding acts inside of it, and you can also sort by the stage as well. Obviously the loading time is a bit of a problem, but yeah, you can sort between the stages, the A to Z, and the day, the time. You can also switch between weekends 1 and 2, which I thought was very good. It worked really well. And so just using this filter up here, it takes out a lot of extra UI that you need to, that most designers would have to put into the website as tabs. So that's quite an important feature to bear in mind for my artifact. So if I just resize it back to desktop. So yeah, one of the main highlights of this website was when I first came to it, I actually knew to log in because the login section was up here in the top right where it usually is. And that seemed like quite an intuitive process signing up. It was just a simple contact form and to input my password. And then I got presented with this. And obviously you can change the settings to your profile. And yeah, so it's this area here that I'm most concerned about because it allows you to obviously pick your lineup and it shows it all organized. But taking into account the way in which the GUI works here, I think I can probably merge this page with this page. And overall, I think that could work a bit better for my idea. Other than that, they also provide a printed version of the lineup on this website, and that's on this section here. So it's pretty good for anyone who's looking to print this out, but obviously if you're looking at it on a device, on desktop it's fine, however if you're resizing it, it does become slightly illegible. So you can see just scrolling down here, you won't be able to see this, but of course there is that functionality on mobile devices to actually double tap and zoom in, which is fine, but obviously there's no interactive features when on this page. Actually navigating on this website is typically what you have with mobile websites is you have a drop-down menu, and this refers back to the UI patterns I'd researched back with UX Pin. And so this website demonstrates that functionality quite clearly. However, there's quite a lot of content that the website holds, so the drop-down is pretty big. But with my idea, there'd only be a select number of specific pages, since I'm only dedicating my app idea to this section here, and obviously my personal profile. Overall, though, I think this site presents some interesting graphical features when showing what festival it is and who its target audience is. It's sort of very appealing to anyone who's interested in events like music festivals, because it displays all of these nice personal graphics, which I think is probably something I could consider for making each music festival digital lanyard more personal. So maybe the event organisers can input their own creative content, and that refers back to the study into events management, where you need to consider how events managers have a creative intention for their programs. But besides that, this website works pretty well along with the mobile app. So I'm going to be taking features like the way in which the process of queuing up artists in the mobile application works, and probably refining that and using that as a website-based application first, and then probably moving that onto a mobile app. But we'll see, really. I'm not 100% sure on what this, on what my artifact is going to look like, but I'm getting some good ideas on what I should really be incorporating when looking at both the website and the mobile app.